From Vermont Public, this is The Frequency. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. It's Monday, April 14th, and here are today's headlines. Two Champlain Valley Union High School seniors from Nicaragua who faced deportation can stay in Vermont, at least temporarily. The Trump administration had revoked legal protections for thousands of migrants in the U.S. legally here under a humanitarian parole program created during the Biden administration. Hundreds of thousands of migrants from Cuba, Venezuela, Haiti, and Nicaragua, including the two CVU students, were granted 2-year permits to live and work in the U.S. The Trump administration order threatened to end that program by April 24th, which would have forced the students' deportation. But WCAX reports a federal judge late last week halted the Trump order. It's unclear how long the students will be allowed to remain in Vermont. In other news related to immigration status, in Vermont, lawmakers are considering adding citizenship and immigration status to the state's fair housing laws. The move would ban discrimination on those grounds when someone is looking to rent or buy a home. But the Vermont Landlord Association has pushed back, saying the change could create legal issues given the current political environment. Here's the association's director, Angela Zykowski.
To make a landlord have to take somebody, even if they're not here legally, I think is a challenge and a big ask.
Proponents of the bill say these fears of federal repercussions lack a legal basis. They say the bill would expand housing access for immigrants in Vermont. A bill introduced late in the current legislative session in Montpelier would review the process Vermont uses to recognize groups as Native American tribes. Independent State Representative Troy Hedrick of Burlington introduced the bill. He said the process that recognized 4 Vermont groups as Abenaki tribes in 2011 and 2012 was flawed. It didn't seek input from members of Odanak and Woolleynak nations displaced during American colonization.
We created harm. The state created harm. And we excluded the Odanak and the Woolleynak from those conversations. And that's an important consideration and why I think this bill is an important thing to do, because we have harm that we have to repair.
The bill would also add oversight to the Vermont Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Invasive zebra mussels have been detected on the American side of Lake Memphremagog. The mussels were first detected in the Canadian side of the lake in 2018. This week, the Department of Environmental Conservation announced they have spread south. Zebra mussels are small invasive shellfish that can quickly form large populations and outcompete native species for food and habitat. They had previously been found only in Lake Champlain and Lake Bomazene in Vermont. Coming up, we continue our recurring series on class with a man who grew up in Richford and talks about the stress of navigating college life when you come from a less affluent background. That's after this. Joseph Wills is a filmmaker and software engineer from Richford, Vermont, currently living in Burlington. He put himself through the University of Vermont, working 3 part-time jobs, and still graduated with more debt than any of his friends. In the latest installment of our series, What Class Are You?, Joe talked with producer Erica Heilman about the challenges of higher education when you come from little money.
People kind of just knew that they were poor. Like I remember people calling it Porford instead of Richford.
Sorry to laugh.
I remember asking my dad one time, I was like, so like the richest person in Richford, like how are they rich compared to like other people? He's like, no.
What did you feel about being from a poor town when you went to this big union high school that you had to travel really far to get to? Mm-hmm. What were the class dynamics in the school that were striking to you in high school?
I mean, college kind of casts a shadow on my entire high school experience because I really want to go to like a good college. And it was pretty apparent, like if you read about like all of the like elite colleges have like blogs where their students write all this like fancy stuff, right? And they're all talking about, oh, they built a supercomputer when they were 13 or like a nuclear reactor in their garage or whatever. So much of that stuff is about money. You have to have some kind of like freedom that like having economic privilege gives you. If I need to go somewhere for whatever reason, like I had to like find a ride or I need to like figure it out. I need to like work it out with my mom, right? That kind of thing seems trite, but like that kind of thing can have like big impacts on like what you're able to do. I mean, like you look at like at my school sports, that is also tied to class in a way in Vermont, right? Because like your engagement with that does rely on your ability to access transportation, all extracurriculars, all the things that you need to be able to do to like try to reach like the highest levels, right? And neither of my parents went to college. There wasn't like a body of knowledge of people around me who like knew how this worked. I didn't realize until like the fall of my senior year, oh, some of these people have been like working on this for like a really long time. Some of these people have been paying people to help them work this stuff out. Some people have been paying people to like tell them how to get good grades on like the SATs or something like that. They kind of like know how that works. There was like a point of pride that like I didn't have those like resources, but I could still like succeed. But the commanding theme of life when I was a kid, and even though like I felt like we were luckier than a lot of people around me, was struggle. People weren't theorizing about life with poverty or anything like that. It was defined by struggle. Like it felt like you were fighting all the time.
And there's nothing romantic about that.
Right. Exactly.
When you went to University of Vermont, how did class play out in college?
My perception was that people like me, people who were like working class, tended towards pragmatic options in terms of your program. I liked computers, but I can't say that there wasn't a part of me that was like, well, if I pick something else, like if I pick film, right? I can't do that to myself. Like I can't shoot myself in the foot like that. People say it's like, oh, you go to college to like discover yourself or like figure out what you want to do, right? But if you do the math for like how much you pay per credit, the amount of, I mean like that, it's like there's no time to waste. You have to hit the ground running and you can't make one of those debilitating mistakes, right? Because like if you slip below a certain GPA, I mean like if you're relying on scholarships, you slip below a certain GPA, right? Like boom, like that's game over.
You're going to school with people who have more money than God or
Right.
more money than you've ever heard of.
Yeah.
And so where did that show up during the day at college?
We were in a class about work in America. We're reading a poem by Dave Budbill, who's a Vermont poet. And it was a poem basically engaging with like poverty, impoverished people, and the haves and have-nots. And it was pretty explicitly, it was about skiing culture, and it was about Stowe. And it was this really moving poem. And it really, I was like, I've never heard anybody talk about class. Like there's no poverty studies major, right? So one of my classmates was like an upper class white woman. She took issue with the fact that Budbill used the term native Vermonter. As in like, I don't think that he's indigenous or whatever, right? This is someone who had, within recent memory, been discussing her parents' vineyard in Massachusetts, like on Martha's Vineyard. And it was just like this massive disconnect. It's like, he's talking about you. Like he's talking about you.
You do feel like you've achieved some upward mobility, if achieved is the right word. Do you feel, is there any guilt, shame, discomfort, alienation, or is any of that relevant?
I feel really lucky because I look at the lives of other people from where I'm from. I mean, I worked hard. I did. I worked hard. I went after opportunities, but I feel like I'm like holding on really, really tight. And if I let go, then like all of it's going to go away. And different people have handled it differently. People I know, some people never get on that track because they see it as like doomed to failure. They work at the pet feeds factory and that's their existence.
So you're saying if you're working at the pet feed factory and you just never get on, is it because of the possibility of having somewhere to fall from? Is it about fear? Is it about, what is that?
For a lot of people, I think like, yeah, it is kind of like this thing that's like, they hate me. So like, I'm just going to ignore it, I'm not even going to play the game. For other people, it's like, they just can't imagine it. They don't even have the ability to see it, to see what the possibilities are, what they could achieve.
This is Erica Heilman with Vermont Public.
Thanks for listening to The Frequency today. We had additional reporting from Carly Berlin, Lexi Krupp, and Mark Davis. Today's episode was edited by Jane Lindholm, and our music is by Blue Dot Sessions. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. Talk to you soon.
This is Tanya Mosley, co-host of Fresh Air. You'll see your favorite actors, directors, and comedians on late-night TV shows or YouTube. But what you get with Fresh Air is a deep dive. Spend some quality time with people like Billie Eilish, Questlove, Ariana Grande, Stephen Colbert, and so many more. We ask questions you won't hear asked anywhere else. Listen to the Fresh Air podcast from NPR and WHYY.